Get a DM from a man once a week. How do I get my wife to initiate sex? How do I get my wife to want sex again? And every time I think to myself, is he really ready to hear the answer? Because what turns women on, especially in long-term relationship, is not lingerie. It's not a sex technique. And it sure as hell isn't asking her to just tell you what she wants or poking her with your erection at the end of a long day. It actually has more to do with how you show up outside of the bedroom. And every time I think, are you ready to hear the answer? I respond bluntly. Make sex worth having. Learn about sex from women, not from men. Don't be a man baby outside of the bedroom. And then how they take having the revelation that he might need to put in some work to get sex, foreplay, equitable participation in household labor, learning emotional intelligence, being a decent parent can be shattering for 1 in 10 men. Like, thankfully, it is not the men that I deal with. It is not the men in my world. They truly want to make things better for their partners, but it can be a shattering or a taken aback moment where they have to assess something that they thought was their right or their privilege that they now actually have to work for. I mean, if some of them are throwing a tantrum with me, I think, oh my God, no wonder your wife doesn't want to have sex with you. And men can also learn about their privilege and decenter themselves from it. But we're going to talk about that all today. I am Dr. Jordan Wiggins, intimacy strategist for high-functioning women, naturopathic doctor, author of The Pink Canary, creator of The Pleasure Path, and host of this globally top-ranked podcast. I want to thank you all for that. Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for your 5-star reviews. I appreciate it. And I want to know, how are you? What form of multitasking are you doing right now? I help women that are brilliant in their careers, but are quietly burned out in their relationships, their bodies, their sex lives. This podcast is where we stop pretending things are fine and start naming what is really going on. The unspoken resentment, the numbness, the invisible power dynamics that make you feel like intimacy is just another thing for you to manage. I am not here to sell you surface level empowerment, the bullshit that I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on in therapy that did not work. I'm here to help you unlearn the scripts that keep you stuck in overfunctioning, stuck in disconnection, and feeling that shame, feeling so alone. And I'm here to teach you what it actually takes to feel turned on, emotionally safe, and erotically alive. Each episode is rooted in clinical insight, lived experience of myself and my clients, and the truth that your body already knew, but you didn't know how to speak. Your pussy knows. Your nervous system knows. You can't fool them as much as we try. So this is your invitation to stop performing, start receiving, and finally feel the kind of success that includes your pleasure. I used to do this series, these episodes for the men, where I'm answering questions of my clients' partners, but men that are genuinely trying to be better partners, better lovers, supporters for the women in their lives. So today's question is from a listener who asked, "Hello, I was hoping for some advice on how to get my wife to initiate sex. She stopped initiating about 2 years ago, and now we have a 1-year-old. I do all the initiating. And when we do have sex, it's usually really good. I always focus on her pleasure with foreplay, going down on her, and also toys for her. So I get her to orgasm usually every time, and she tells me how great it feels during it. Then weeks go by until the next time." Okay. So first of all, thank you. Thank you for caring about her pleasure. Thank you for asking the question and creating the space for us to have this conversation, because I literally get it all the time. Okay. And this tells me you care, you are putting in effort, which is amazing. And it's a huge part of the work. So the real question here, these are complex issues, complex biopsychosocial issues. And if you're Googling, how do I get my wife to initiate sex more? First of all, if it's a man answering, don't fucking listen. Don't listen. I want you to consider the source of the information in which you are, where you're getting your information. So the real question is not, how do I get my wife to initiate sex more? The real question is, why did she stop wanting to? Did she ever want to? Okay. Desire doesn't just disappear, it gets buried, it gets ignored. Desire disappears in long-term relationship, especially for women, especially for women. It's getting trampled by the weight of everyday expectation for women, for mothers. Okay. He mentioned they have a 1-year-old. Motherhood is wild. Nothing prepares you, and women are gaslit about the experience of becoming a mother, of matrescence. And as a man, you will never fully grasp what that is like, the changes that we go through physically, mentally, emotionally. For one, noting the point at which they are at in this relationship is important. And if you don't know what matrescence is, Google it. Educate yourself, especially if you have a wife with young children, like in the first year or two. Having a child is a 24/7 emotional, physical, and mental labor. You're not the same person as you were. Your body isn't, your brain isn't, your hormones aren't, your identity isn't. So, yes, sex is different. And is she breastfeeding? That causes changes in hormones. I mean, you should still have desire and pain-free sex even while breastfeeding. But I know for myself, I was drier and it was a little harder to orgasm, but nothing a little lube and a masterful man couldn't fix. We're not using breastfeeding as an excuse, but it might be a factor. So most likely she is doing most of the emotional labor, caretaking, logistics, household planning. I don't know, but usually in the first year or two of life, a lot of the parenting falls on the mother's shoulders because of gender roles, just because of sheer breastfeeding. Like, I had the boobs, so that was on me. And that changes how available her nervous system is for pleasure. Now, most women have what is called responsive desire. So most women don't have a light switch, spontaneous desire like men do. It's more like warming up the pot on the stove. And the pot cannot even get warm if she's on empty, if there is no water in it. And by the sounds of it, that she's saying how great it feels during, there are orgasms. It sounds like she does have responsive desire where this is not really on her mind. But once she is in a context that is explicitly sexual and she has time to turn the pleasure centers in her brain on, she's down, she's into it. So for women that have responsive desire, it is important to ask yourself, how much have I consistently taken off her plate? Not just the tasks, but the decision making, the invisible labor, the parts, the things that she does that she doesn't get thanked for. Okay, so for example, if the house is a mess and there's toys everywhere, and that's normally her job or a task that is her job. See, look at my conditioned patriarchy just spewing out there. That is a task for the household that she is normally owning. How about cleaning it up without being asked? How about paying attention to how does she like a room to be cleaned to feel safe? Okay. Because if she walks into a room and it's done and everything is put away where it should go, the towels are folded how she likes them to be folded, she relaxes instantly. And oh, there's a tingle there. Her pleasure pulse will increase. So what can you consistently take off her plate? And do you see the patriarchal mind fuck there? So we get told as women to be good mothers, to be good wife. We have to do these things, right? Like keep the house clean. And we feel like we're failing if we don't. Okay, and I've worked on that conditioning and shed it all, and this is what I help women do. And I also like a clean house, but I also won't have arguments in relationship about it. Okay, the patriarchal mind fuck. I'm going to go back to this. So we have this conditioning, right, to be a good wife, to be a good mother, that we have to do all these things. And we feel shame and bad, which is a break, which takes us out of our erotic brain, out of our pleasure centers and into our brainstem, where we feel like if we don't get these things done, we can't relax and enjoy. Okay. And it's like, oh, like, look at my wife, look at all the things that she does. But then you're mad at her for not, and not mad at her. You're like, you want her to initiate more. You want her to have sex more. So do you see the mind fuck there? We're trapped. We're damned if we do. We're damned if we don't. But I hope you enjoy resetting the room the way that the patriarchy has instilled in her that she has to do it, because that's going to give her the space for her desire to awaken. Okay, and I actually did ask, did she ever initiate? When did it stop? Was initiating a lot at the beginning, preferred if he initiated. We had some issues in the relationship and some stuff that's going to go too deep for the topic of this conversation. But she was initiating in the beginning. They had some bumps, sorted it out, and then the kid thing is an issue. Another point that I would love to bring up is when desire drops, it's not a libido problem. It's a connection problem. It's a nervous system problem. It's a resentment problem. It's a power dynamic problem. So sex is not a metric. It's a mirror of what is going on in your relationship. It's a warning light. It's the pink canary. And for those of you new around here, that is a book that I wrote back in 2019. Okay, and this is why I created the pleasure path assessment, to help high functioning women decode the underlying reasons why they're numb or shut down or not as fully erotically expressed as they want to be. So this is an evidence-backed tool, and it has my 11 years of experience doing this to help you understand where you are on your pleasure journey and what you need to do next, because there's all things that we can do to improve. You know, does she have shame? Has she had pleasure focused sex education? Does she know what she likes? Or is she just having sex to please you? And check it off the list. It doesn't, in this person's case, sound like it. It sounds like he's trying and putting in effort. So being brutally honest, lack of sex isn't the problem. It's a symptom. I'm going to say it again. Lack of sex or lack of initiating isn't the problem. So don't go Googling that part, because you're not going to get the answer you want. We have to go deeper. It's a symptom of deeper disconnection, unhealed hurt, unmet needs, unprocessed sexual shame, or just plain being fucking tired with the weight of what is expected of women today, of the economy today. Somebody told me, I'm not sure if it's true, but that boomers' kids are the first generation that's like poorer or can like afford less because of the cost of living. I don't know if it was ever. Anyways, fact check me. I don't know. But we have a lot more two parents working to earn an income. We're plugged in all the time. There's just, we are literally so on that getting to the point where our responsive desire kicks in is not happening. So trying to fix a sex issue by having more sex or trying to get her to initiate more when she's not initiating is like repainting the ceiling when there's a leak. The stain's maybe going to disappear for a while, or she does it once out of obligation, but the damage is going to keep coming back. So let's go deeper. Let's talk about emotional safety and power dynamics. And the power dynamics that many of you are not even aware that exist because you have benefited from them. And women aren't aware that they exist because we have been gaslit and kept so busy and disconnected from our feelings. But then we don't want to fuck you. So we're in this negative loop, this libido downward spiral. So emotional safety and power dynamics. Foreplay doesn't start in the bedroom. It starts at 6 a.m. when she's exhausted and the baby is crying. And she feels like she's carrying the weight of everything. Do you, as the man, calm her nervous system or add to her stress? Do you tell her she's too much? She's too controlling? Are you another adult in the house or another child that she has to manage? Okay. And if some of this stings, I know you haven't been taught to hold your shame. It's easier to lash out at me, call me crazy, tell me I'm a bitch, than look inwardly and look at where you could be doing better. Have you stopped seducing her? Most men stopped doing what they did in the dating phase. And then they wonder why she doesn't want him. And he said she was initiating in the beginning. And yes, hormonal cascades, new relationship energy is very different in the beginning of a relationship. Talk about that in my book, The Pink Canary. But let me ask you, when is the last time you did something to make her feel seen, taken care of without needing a gold star, without expecting sex after or anything in return? Because that's the other thing. Like her pussy knows. Her pussy knows when you cleaned the living room because you wanted sex. That's giving to get. It's gross. And we don't really want it. It's also why she doesn't expect you to show up consistently. So, because if you were giving to get, if you clean the living room and she's like, ugh, like he's just doing that because he wants me to suck his dick, like, fuck this guy. And then you think, like, oh, look, I did clean the living room. She didn't do anything. No, do it consistently. Pick one task a week and start to continually own that task without her having to ask or remind you. And I guarantee you she will be initiating and wanting sex more. But you need to do it consistently. And you need to do it consistently over time until her nervous system believes you. Okay. And this isn't in your time limit. Okay. And we're going deeper still. Have you examined the power dynamics at play? Who makes the rules in the relationship? Who is sex centered around? Like, is penis and vagina sex the what you're counting sex as? And it sounds like if you're focusing on her with toys, going down on her from this question, that's great. You've de-centered sex about penis and vagina, which is amazing. Is your libido as the man default? Because that's usually what happens. Wherever the man is, that's where like therapy or whatever we go to. So if he wants more sex, she feels like she should be having more. If he wants less sex in her, she feels bad for wanting it too much. So it's this male as default that we have all been raised and engrossed in that culture. Who carries the emotional weight of the relationship? Who gets to rest? Who gets to do things that they want to do without having to do a million things before and after? Who gets praised for doing the bare minimum? The structure is still patriarchal. And when power is imbalanced, desire dies. We need to meet each other with pleasure at the center, eye to eye, heart to heart. If you haven't looked here and you haven't looked at the power dynamics, And maybe you don't want to give up your privilege. Maybe you don't want to put in the work to take things that shouldn't really be on her plate as far as emotional, physical, unpaid labor goes. Maybe you don't want to do that, but then you need to stop complaining. You need to stop complaining and maybe buy yourself a sex toy. Let me be clear. Women are not less sexual than men. Women don't just want less sex than men. Okay, this is a setup. Women are, in fact, more sexual than men. And this is what I am teaching in my programs. And again, if that makes you feel a little like, ooh, uncomfortable, we need to work on her pleasure beliefs and we need to work on your pleasure beliefs, because her being like, you would not have an initiation problem. You would not have a sex problem. You would not have a dick sucking problem if she was fully erotically expressed. Women have a literal organ designed just for pleasure, only for pleasure, with way more nerve endings and sensitivity than your penis. And we have less refractory period, way more capacity for multiple orgasms. So this like fact that our entire population thinks that men are more sexual than women is just, again, the biggest gaslight, the biggest patriarchal gaslight. And it's making you all have less sex. And she would do way more dirty stuff to you too if she was fully erotically expressed. But thank the patriarchy for not getting it in anywhere near as much as you would be. But we can unlearn these beliefs. And I'll let you know how in a minute. When sex becomes a chore, when she feels like she has to perform desire to keep the peace, or you're going to slide into somebody's DMs, or she has to manage her own needs and yours. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. Out of my clients, and this has been studied, almost 70% of married people rate their sex life as a 3 out of 10 or lower. And it's not because they don't want sex. It's because they're not getting the kind of sex, the quality of sex that they're desiring or craving. So I want to give you a little behind closed doors. What are the conversations we're having in my groups? I've worked with thousands of women at this point. Here is the real reason they stop wanting sex, or stop initiating, or stop thinking about it. They're tired of being emotionally abandoned. They don't want to have sex with someone that they have to mother or think 10 steps ahead for. They're angry and resentful because they feel blamed for, not having the desire, not doing enough, even after how much they do and are not acknowledged for around the house. They can't relax. They don't have that time to go from like CEO into lover or mother into lover. We need more time to get aroused. We need more foreplay. So the sex is bad, rushed, or painful. That plays into what I just said. They can't relax in a dirty house or with all the tasks to do for the kids. Their partners show very little curiosity or care about their needs. Right? And when they try and share their needs, it's like, oh, you're too much. You're too controlling. I'm emasculated. And you want to talk about a power dynamic. They feel that sex is centered around the penis in the relationship. And sex without equality, without enthusiastic consent, sex without multiple orgasms for her feels not fucking worth it. Okay, so this isn't about being perfect. It's about being present and taking steps in the right direction. So put it even more clearly, what to do if you want more sex and initiating. Don't pout, don't pressure, don't guilt her. Don't make sex about your needs or performance. Don't weaponize her low libido against her, especially if she's pregnant or breastfeeding. Especially don't ignore all of the ways that inequality shows up in your relationship. There are hundreds, I promise you. And what you should start doing. If you're feeling really brave, share this episode with her and say, What resonates for you? Not to defend, not to get into an argument about it, but to understand. Have you ever tried just listening, invalidating her experience, asking, how can I help? And doing the thing? A woman will suck a dick of a man that does that. Take ownership for what you have stopped doing. What have you stopped doing since the beginning of the relationship? Are you seducing her? How attractive are you to her? Here's another hidden power dynamic and expectation. A lot of my clients, they spend time, money, effort on their appearance and the way they look and staying fit. And their husbands aren't necessarily doing the same. So it's the equal expectation, right? Like you're on Instagram liking these models' photos or on OnlyFans chatting them up. Like, so she knows what's attractive, what you're finding attractive, but you're not putting in the time or effort to stay fit and healthy yourself. Like, it's kind of a gross dynamic. Start showing up differently, consistently. If she likes the towels folded a certain way and things put away a certain way, fucking do it. Do it without being asked. Don't debate her on her high standards. Tell her she's too much. Tell her who cares. No one wants to fuck in a mess. Like maybe when you were 20 and in a dorm, but not now. Ask yourself, where do I hold the unnamed power in the relationship? Where am I the default? Right? So it's not you over her. We need to equal that. What are you doing with this unequal power? Guaranteed, you start sharing it with her, start seeing her, she's going to want a lot more sex. So the goal is not about initiation, it is about invitation and intimacy. Women initiate when they feel seen, they feel safe, they feel supported, they feel sexually alive in their bodies. Okay, maybe she's not feeling great because of her body, because she had a baby. So, what do you need to take off her plate so she can go and move her body? She can go exercise. And again, you're not doing it to get sex. You're doing it so she can feel good and be the best version of herself. And then that version will just naturally want to initiate. And has she had pleasure-centered sex education? Has she worked on her pleasure beliefs? That is what I teach in my Pleasure Principles group coaching program, where I teach high achieving women how to rewire their nervous systems to receive, how to unlearn our negative sex education that is keeping you stuck and erotically shut down, and give you the pleasure-centered sex education that you deserve and your relationship deserves and your children deserve to know age-appropriate parts of this, how to unlearn the superwoman conditioning and the burnout, and how to name and shift the invisible power dynamics that are blocking their desire. Head to the show notes. We start June 25th for the next round of Pleasure Principles group coaching. You are live with me on calls twice a month. You get my foundational program, Pleasure Principles for Life. And this is an intimate community of 10 women where we are going on this journey together. We are unlearning the beliefs. We are learning pleasure-focused sex education. And once we start realizing these things where we're blocked, why we are erotically shut down, my clients start having more and the best sex of their entire lives. And it doesn't matter if they are breastfeeding, if they have little children, who's busy, who works away, none of it matters. The semantics don't matter. They're connected and they're having great quality sex that both partners feel good about. We start June 25th. I am only taking 10 people. I've just started advertising this. 3 spots are already full. So don't sleep on this. Head to the show notes and reserve your spot. And to conclude, instead of asking, how can I get her to initiate? Ask, would I want to have sex with me the way I show up? Ask, what power am I willing to give up to build something more pleasure-centered, more connected, where she feels safe to open emotionally and erotically? And that's where it gets good, I promise you. If you are really ready to be the kind of partners that crave each other, not just for sex, but for intimacy and trust and turn on, send the episode to your partner. If you are a woman listening, send this episode to your partner, not to fix him or her, but to see what might come up about what parts resonate. And if you have questions that you want addressed, you can send me a DM on Instagram.